Hey, I'm Nile Rodgers, and I'm a guitarist, record producer, arranger, orchestrator, and just guy who likes to do stuff. Since I started, things have changed drastically, but that's because I've been doing this for more than 50 years. I think tech is great. I think, so once again, having that instant gratification kind of experience is a wonderful thing. Um, uh, when you walk over to a set of drums or a piano and you hit it, like, wow, that's cool, and you can do some rudimentary stuff and feel good about that. That's great. That what tech allows you to do is those same incredibly simple gestures and get powerful results. One of my favorite people to work with in my life was the artist Avicii. He didn't know anything about music technically. Like, he didn't understand tertiary harmony. He didn't understand when I would explain something to him, but he was a natural melody writer because the gear allowed him to express himself, and he was brilliant at it. I would play a part, and he would imitate my part almost on the spot because he was so comfortable with the gear, and somehow his ear was in tune with the gear. And even if he were completely off, he'd be able to step at it so fast that to me, it was just like writing with a very experienced musician. So, how could I complain about tech when I can meet a person like that who has no idea what I'm talking about technically, but still can make a song that's brilliant? Let me just give you a little bit of a history of my life here, because this is weird. The very first tour I ever did as a musician that was not with Sesame Street or with the Apollo House Band, but I'm now out there sort of on my own. I was in a group called New York City. We had a pretty big hit record, which the Pasadenas wound up getting a hit with years later, but we did it first, called I'm Doing Fine Now. Our very first tour ever, ever, ever in life, first time Nile Rodgers out of the United States doing a gig. Wolverhampton, Goole, Hull, Leeds, Colwyn Bay. It's my first tour ever. America is a country that's so big that you have pockets all around the country that have no desire to listen to this type of music, or no desire to dress like this, and no desire to eat that. And no, it's like a country full of all different countries. But when I got here, the fact that uh, everybody liked R&B music, and everybody knew it and understood it, and then not just the general population, but the musicians. So look at my life. I've probably made more records with UK musicians than anyone. When I first met, Bowie and Duran and Peter Gabriel and Mick Jagger, and it goes on and on and on and on. Roxy Music. I designed my band Chic after Roxy Music. I had never seen anything as cool as that. And we said, let's do the black version of Roxy Music. It was like, so UK is, as a whole, has had such a powerful influence on me. There was a really good album called Live at Leeds. And it was like, to me, the fact that I got a chance to be live in Leeds, I mean, when I played the Budokan is because of Cheap Trick live at the Budokan. I mean, it was like, it's that kind of stuff. So I don't necessarily say that, well, I understand the vibe in Leeds and I understand the vibe in Manchester, and I no, it's like I meet Johnny Marr and he goes, well, I'm from Manchester. Cool. It's like it's word association in a strange way, more so than understanding the cultural foundation of the city. Because one, I would say I don't have enough time. I mean, imagine if I tried to understand every single culture that made records that I love. I'd be older than I am now, and have always been appreciative of the fact that I have the life that I have because other people were willing to share with me, other people were willing to teach me, and they seem to do it without their handout. It's interesting, and maybe I'm saying something that's not true, but this feels true to me. I think that musicians are the most altruistic artists that I know. They are so willing to share. Like, I've never met a musician that if you ask them a question about music, that they won't try and explain it to you. I remember when I was a child, this is funny, a true story. I was a child and I was practicing a pretty rudimentary exercise, and Thelonious Monk was, friends with my parents, and he came to our apartment, and he walked over to the music stand where I was practicing. Yeah, I was playing B flat clarinet, and he turned it upside down, and he says, "Play it like this." I was like, "Wow!" I never even thought of doing something like that. And once again, it just made me a little bit wiser and more aware of the power of music, the gift of sharing with others, and to have somebody. Now, I knew Thelonious Monk was a star when I was a kid, but I didn't know he was that big of a star. But just for him to do that, to turn it over and say, "Try it like this," and it meant so much to my life because it changed the whole way I was playing that particular exercise. Let me tell you something that's going to sound completely ridiculous. Um, a few years ago, I was hired to be the music director of a big concert and musical program that took place at the United Nations. It involved musicians and music from all areas of the world. And many of these musicians, because of their religious and cultural backgrounds, were at war with each other. I watched people who would have probably or could possibly have killed another person come together and have the greatest time of their lives. Because when you're a musician and you're on stage with somebody, you don't want to stink. So, like, we would rehearse, and at the end of this experience, um, they were like best of friends, and we talked about it because I had no problem saying, like, I know in your country you guys would have never gotten together, but now we're on stage together and you guys want, you're trying to no, play it like this, it was. And so I said, I think that in order to be a politician, everybody has to be a musician, and you got to jam first. If you jam first, it's going to change everything because you got to walk out on stage and play in front of people. You don't want to stink, and you don't want the other people in your band to stink either. There's going to be a camaraderie that just happens naturally. And as crazy as that sounds, I would bet if there was some way that I could prove that scientifically, I would be right because I watched it happen. And I'm telling you, I directed musicians from so many different countries that were totally not friends before they walked on that stage or walked into that rehearsal room. But some people told me, as a matter of fact, many people have told me that it was one of the greatest concerts they'd ever seen. It was a wonderful experience for me. Incredibly important because everything that you've just mentioned um, have had a very powerful effect on my life. This year, I'm celebrating 30 years sober. Who would have ever thought that I would have achieved anything like that? And then I just realized that I've now been sober longer than I was using. I started using at 11 years old, and I was quite voracious. It was It was my escape mechanism. Um, I'm a two-time cancer survivor. I've had many maladies that um, could have. I mean, come on. I flatlined I died 7 times. I flatlined 7 times. Uh, yeah, I'm a very thankful person to be involved in any kind of situation where I can possibly share and give back and say that, whatever problems we have, I believe that we can work through them. I really wish that the world would push a reset button and just say, you know what? Whatever problems we had yesterday, you know what? I mean, I've overcome so many horrible things. If I can do it, anybody can do it because believe me, I was pretty bad. But I always had enough energy and I always had a great work ethic that many a time an artist would walk into the recording studio. I'd be lying on the floor, completely inebriated. And as soon as they walk in, I'm ready to go.